The first question will go to Don Taylor, and that question is going to be, would the Democrats, if there is a Democrat throwing his hat in for Kalen's spot, but would the Democrats be able to assuming that you've been endorsed, would the Democrats be able to Google your name and come up with anything that could harm your candidacy?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a Google alert on my own name right now, and all that keeps coming up are movie stars. So maybe I just need to go to Hollywood. No, I've actually have, even with my kids, we went through and we got our computer and we've Googled ourselves to see what would come up. And so I go back quite a ways and I don't find anything. And I think the Democrats actually did that on me last year when I ran, and they couldn't find anything. So I had said on my website that that the House caucus had come in and interviewed me or talked to me about running, but they did that to 4 other people at the same time. And so all they could say is that I was handpicked by the Republican Party, and I'd be nothing more than a yes man for them. So that's all they could find, and that's all anybody else would be able to find.
Great, thank you. Sean Eno.
Well, I've had a Google alert on my name since about 2001, so I've seen everything that's popped up on Google since then, and nothing negative in my interpretation now. If you go and look me up, I'm all over the web. You know, I served in the Senate for 4 years, and there's all kinds of legislation that I offered that they think would be horrible, but you all probably would find be pretty supportive of. So I don't. Unless it's something like, oh, he tried to trim this budget, and oh, he voted against increasing this spending, you know, unless it's something like that, I don't see where they'd find anything.
Great. Sheldon?
Sure, if you Google my name, I think I'm up to like 30 pages, and I'm sure that if you believe everything that you read on the internet, I'm sure you could find some things there that probably might raise your eyebrows, but if you looked into the facts behind the things and the statements that people are saying, they're not factual. They're not factual at all. I stand behind my reputation as mayor of 6 years in Wyoming. You know, the DFL might wish they were running against somebody that's worked for my company or a past friend, but they're running against Sheldon Anderson. I stand behind my record.
Okay, Bob Barrett?
If you Google my name, I think you'd probably find 3 things, one of which nothing bad. Well, yeah, something embarrassing. I ran as a Democrat 10 years ago and lost to a Democrat in the primary. It was 10 years ago. I ran as a conservative because that's who I am. I don't have my flyer with me, but if you looked at it, I talked about this a couple weeks ago in Chisago, and I wanted to give, 10 years ago we had a surplus. I wanted to give all of it back to the people. Okay, they wanted to spend 2/3 of it, which they did, they being the Democrats. So I was a Democrat at the time. My dad was a Democrat. If you're not, you know, the old saying goes, if you're not a liberal at the age of 20, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative at the age of 40, you don't have a brain. Well, I'm 42, so I have a brain. My heart left me when I was 20, I guess. So I'm embarrassed and I lost, but it was a protest candidate. People who have seen my literature can vouch for me in that regard. And I'm proud of what I did. I have a lot of Republicans supporting me. Another thing that's online is an article from the Minnesota Family Council. If you want to, Google MFC Bob Barrett. It talks about an issue that happened in Big Lake School District when we lived in Big Lake in 2001. This is right after I ran in 2000. And the problem in Big Lake is they had a textbook that they were teaching diversity with. And the textbook said that Christopher Columbus was a rapist and a murderer. And they talked about how white males historically were bad people and we continue to be bad people all the time. They talked about how Christians were, when were Christians going to repent for the sins that have happened. So we fought that. Me and a couple other people fought that. There's an article on it, 2 articles. Please read it. It's really good information. At the time I had a 3rd grader and a 4th grader. It didn't affect me because it was a high school class. They asked me, Bob, why do you even care? Well, I cared because it's my community. And that's why I cared. And I cared because my kids were going to be in high school. And I didn't want a 9-year-old program, would have been a 9-year-old program by the time my kids got to high school, to be entrenched in the Big Lake School District area. The 3rd area is I was asked to, a good thing, I asked to speak at an Internet Retailer Conference a year ago because of the good work that I had done in managing our Hazelden website. We increased sales by over $1 million by investing $6,000.
Less food.
Well, I have not Googled myself any time recently here, but I did put a Google alert on too, actually. A friend of mine in the party said, if you're running for office, you better put it on there, at least you know what your enemies are saying. Doesn't pop up very often, you know. I've had a few newspaper stories come up of things we've done in the city council and things, but, you know, stuff like that. I know in the past that I have found stories like about the time in 2004 when I had the honor of serving President Bush in his motorcade and being a driver in his motorcade and up in Duluth. You know, kind of it was in Cambridge Star and in the Chisago Press, actually, both, about one of the deputies in Isanti and myself operating as drivers and the experience and things like that. But there's nothing negative in mind that I know of. I've never had anybody suggest that there was.
Right.